All right, we are recording.
All right.
So
Very good.
good to go.
We'll call the meeting to order. Good morning, everyone. I'm Matt Brower, the chair of the state committee, and we'll do a roll call of the voting members of the state committee first, an introduction. So, Darren.
Darren Hickling, Vice Chair, voting member.
All right. Thank you, Darren. Good morning. Scott.
Sorry, say it again. I'm muted.
Scott Ryan, voting member.
All right. Good morning, Scott. Maureen.
Maureen Loopold, voting member.
Good morning. And Megan.
Megan Hauser, voting member.
Good morning, Megan. All right, Bethany, I'll leave it up to you to do the rest of the roll call.
Okay, thank you, Matt. We'll go around the room here in Albany first. I am Bethany Bisdu, Executive Director of the State Soil and Water Conservation Committee. Brian.
Brian Steinmuller, Assistant Director, Division of Land and Water Resources, Department of Agriculture and Markets.
Ben Luskin, Regional Field Staff for Region 5.
Lauren Stoddard, I'm the Data and Environmental Modeling Specialist.
Judy Luttrell,
Millie McGraw.
Ag Markets, Land and Water Resources, Ag and Farmland Protection.
Melissa Gordon, Administrative Assistant.
Tim Sheldon, Climate Policy and Program Analyst for the division.
Travis Ferry, Region 6 Coordinator.
Tim Clark, Engineer.
Jason Coquinos, Ag Non-Point Source Program Manager.
Thank you.
One more, I'm Millie McGraw, District Manager, Westchester County.
Thanks, Millie. So now we'll move to Syracuse. PJ, you guys want to come off a mute and go around your table?
Good morning, everybody. This is PJ Emmerich. I'm the Region 2 Associate Environmental Analyst.
Good morning, Ryan Cunningham, Region 4 Field Staff for the State Committee.
And you guys said Tyler was there, but had to step out, so he'll be back.
Yes, Tyler should be back in a little bit.
All right, fantastic. Thank you. Now we will go and do a roll call of the advisory members who are joining remotely. Do I have anyone on the line from Cornell Cooperative Extension?
Bethany, Dan Welch is here.
In the Syracuse location.
Oh, okay. Thank you. How about Cornell Cals?
Hey everyone, Joseph Silly here with the Cornell Soil Health Program.
CDEA?
Good morning, this is Nick Klemchak, Vice President of the New York State CDEA.
DEC? All right. How about Department of Health?
Good morning, everyone. Morgan Tarbell, New York State Department of Health.
And good morning. This is Ryan Bell, Department of Health and Program Manager for DWSP2. Thanks.
Thank you. Department of State.
Good morning, Pete Zimmer, Department of State.
SUNY ESF. And NRCS. Okay, so then we will shift and do a roll call of any of the state committee staff who are joining remotely. Greg Albrecht.
Good morning, everybody. This is Greg Albrecht, Principal Environmental Analyst of the State Committee in Ag and Markets.
Victor DiGiacomo.
Morning, Victor Giacomo, Regional Field Staff for Western New York.
Scott Fickbaum. I believe he's actually on the road. He may be joining a little bit later today. Chastity Miller.
Good morning, everybody. Chaz Miller, the AEM Base Coordinator.
Ron Bush. Okay, Brendan Jordan.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Brendan Jordan, AEM and CNMP Specialist for the State Committee on Ag and Markets.
And Gideon Frisbee.
Good morning, Gideon Frisbee, AEM and CNMP Specialist.
Have I missed any advisory members or state committee staff? Okay. Hearing that, I just want to welcome all of our Soil and Water Conservation District partners, staff, and/or board members to the meeting. Please feel free, if you're able, to enter your name and your district into the chat for our meeting minutes. And also want to welcome anyone else who may be joining, partners or members of the public. Matt, I think we are good with introductions.
Okay, very good. Thanks. We'll go to the review and approval of the minutes from the last meeting. Is there any questions or discussion concerning those? If not, a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Second that, it's Maureen.
All right, very good. We'll go to voting. Darren?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Megan?
Matt, I wasn't at the last meeting. Can I approve them? Is that okay?
That's a good question.
You can vote, or you can choose to abstain if you would prefer.
Okay, I can say I approve. That's fine.
Okay, very good. And Maureen?
Aye.
And aye for me as well. So the motion is approved. All right. Correspondence and staff updates. Bethany?
So for correspondence, no official letters have come into the state committee, but for folks here in Albany, there are a number of different newsletters over there that we have received from districts over the past couple months. If you want to peruse those, take a look at what's been happening out there across the state, please feel free. Regarding the staff update, I'm actually going to hand that off to Brian to carry that message.
All right, thank you very much, Bethany. Do have a couple of updates for everybody today. First, I will note that we were successful in backfilling the position that was vacated by Lauren Przarski, who retired back in May. And I'm happy to announce that Judy Luttrell of Ag and Markets and the Division of Land and Water Resources will be transferring job duties to become the new Ecosystem-Based Management Program Manager. That will be effective August 3rd, so just a couple of weeks from now. So at this point, Judy's transitioning, still doing the work in the Ag Protection Unit, starting to learn a little bit more about EBM programs and getting reacquainted with the soil and water conservation staff and programming. But we're really happy to have Judy back in conservation programming starting August 3rd, where Judy will be taking the responsibility of managing the active contracts, but also pursuing new EBM programming. So more to come on that when we have an opportunity to engage with districts and with the state committee on where we'd like to see the EBM program move into the future. So congratulations. I also wanted to note that we received applications for the Conservation District Aid Outreach and Operations Specialist. And currently we're going through those applications and scheduling interviews. So I would say by the next time this group meets, we'll have more to say on that. But very impressed with the amount of applicants for that particular position. So stay tuned, and we'll bring more information to the committee next time we meet. Bethany, anything else?
No, just welcome, Judy. We're excited to have you join the team, and I appreciate you stepping in here this morning. I know you got a lot on your schedule. So thank you. Thank you. Any questions on
All right.
that? Okay.
Okay, we can move on to the reports of the voting members and advisory committee, I believe. So we'll start with the voting members. I will report that I didn't think to mention it at the last meeting, but Fulton County Soil and Water Conservation District has 2 interns for the summer, which we haven't had in the recent past. One is a student at Siena, and the other is a student at SUNY Cobblesville. So that's working out really well for the district. They seem to be doing a fine job, so we're happy to have them. Other than that, that's all I have for today. Darren?
I don't think I have anything to add. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Scott?
2 things. There's a spreadsheet sent out to the districts to get back to NYCDs regarding their funding for projects. Like to have that sent back to us. I'm not sure when the deadline is. And our board meeting is tomorrow, 7 o'clock Zoom. That's it.
All right, very good.
Actually, can I
Thanks,
ask a quick
Scott.
question on that?
Oh.
For the, Scott, do you know for the spreadsheet that got sent out to districts, is that just looking for like any and all funding sources that districts use, or is that want to collect like state funding information?
Any and all funding. They could add anything they get funding for, but there was ag non-point, and whatnot on the spreadsheet.
Okay. Because we can certainly help with that. Is that, you know, if NYCD needs, you know, to fill some gaps or whatever, at least with state programming, is that like a information call from national, or where's that coming from?
Brian Danforth came up with it.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. All right.
All right, Megan?
Hi, Matt. Just a couple things. I attended the annual Pro Dairy Plus meeting, advisory meeting at the end of June. Greg Albrecht is sitting at the table with me, so appreciated his representation there. Among the topics that came up was the importance of our social license as dairy farmers and as milk processors. That was in the discussion too, especially in the face of the unprecedented growth in processing in farms in the last year. And of course, it was acknowledged during the meeting, of course, that soil and water plays a vital role in helping farms maintain that social license. And secondly, on a local level, our community is pleased to be working with soil and water to mitigate runoff and erosion damage at our public beach, our popular public beach at Silver Lake. The significant erosion that took place with the 5-inch rainstorm we had in June and one afternoon underscores the importance of this project, especially with all the lake visitors we have this time of year.
All right, very good. Thank you. And Maureen?
I'm happy to report that we've hired a new technician, soil and water, who will be concentrating on our AIM program. And he just started last week, so that's a great welcome to him. His name is Kevin Etler. He has degrees from ESF, and he worked at the University of Kansas and another project he did up in Vermont, so we welcome him. I went to in Wyoming County, the Cornell Cooperative Extension put on a ginseng cultivation workshop, which was quite interesting. And we had 2 presenters from Greene County, where they have apparently fields that they maintain of ginseng. And I don't know if this is an appropriate place to throw a question out. But we've been talking a lot at our district about farm tire recycling and plastic recycling. And it's an area that we could definitely use some advisement on.
Yeah, I think that's a good question to raise at this time. And, you know, we've had some discussions at our district board meetings as well about the issue of tires, waste tires, especially being thrown along the roadside, because to take them to the landfill now is getting fairly expensive. So if anybody has any thoughts on that, I'd be interested to hear.
Maureen, Wyoming County did a study, maybe 10 years ago now, about recycling ag plastic. I think it was with Cooperative Extension. It's been a long time now, but in the end, it was great to have the plastic baled up and taken off your farm, but the person that was taking it decided they didn't want it anymore. But it'd be good, you could have a conversation with people there about that.
Yeah, we actually discussed that yesterday, that they've got a, I don't know, shed full of plastic cubes and no place to go. Plus apparently it's quite difficult to clean the plastic now that it's baleage and haylage and all of that for those recyclers. So it's becoming quite a problem. And the big tires, that's, the huge tires from all the equipment. So just throwing it out there, if people have ideas, it would be maybe something we could pay a little more attention to at one of our meetings.
Yeah, I thought in the past that some of the districts were trying to put together some programs for both, and if that's the case, if any districts have been working on that or have worked on it in the past and have done something, yeah, it would be interesting to hear from them.
Hey, this is Scott. Montgomery County, we do a small tire, auto tire recycling in the fall, and in the spring for 2 weeks we do a large tire, ag tire recycling program. We pay through the Part C money.
Okay.
Do the large tires need to be chopped up?
No.
Well, we've
I just
definitely
saw a
got to
note
look into
from-
that then. Yeah.
Yeah, I just saw a note from Chaz that a number of districts do have tire recycling programs. So maybe if there's a way that someone could put some information together on that. And she says there is no ag recycling anymore for plastic. But if we could get maybe for a future meeting, some kind of rundown of the districts that are working on the tire recycling and have something in place and what they're doing, that would be helpful.
Definitely. Thank you.
So I will just, I'll put it out there, although it's not complete yet. The 2025 State Committee Annual Report is under review by the front office and chamber. So hopefully we'll get that approved soon. But that we do track that information, what districts, they can report on whether or not they do a tire recycling program. And I don't have the stat right in front of me, but in the report, there is a figure of how many tons of tires districts were able to recycle in 2025. So we can definitely work on that and put together some more information on those programs.
Thank you, Bethany.
Yeah, thank you. All right, so I think we are to the reports of the advisory members, Bethany.
All right, we'll start with Ag and Markets.
Well, I gave a staff report for the division in the state committee, so covered that. Let's see, I did want to also, Matt, if it's okay with you, I know you had reported last time that you and I had recorded that podcast, which is Deeper Shades of Green, WAER, to talk about climate and farming and climate resilient farming. Just after the meeting, that podcast was indeed posted. So just want to report on that, and I can drop the link in the chat for folks to take a listen. Aside from that, I don't think I have anything more.
Well, I meant to mention that, Brian, and I forgot. So it's a good thing you remembered.
No problem.
And I've got the chat or the link in there.
Oh,
now we both do.
there we go. Jeez Louise. Got it.
I thought it turned out fairly well.
I did too.
Our
I did
first
too. I
effort.
appreciated so much the perspective that you gave, regarding farming and so forth. And I thought it was good too, that in some cases, I think they sped our voices up a little bit more to get it all in within a period of time. But no, I thought it went well. Thanks for doing that, Matt.
Yep.
Okay. I'll just do a quick double check. Did we have anyone join us from DEC?
Hey, Bethany, Tony Prestigiacomo here for DEC.
Hi, Tony. Do you have any reports to share with the group today?
No, not today. I can't think of anything that's would be of general interest to the group, but if something comes to mind, I'll paste it in the chat. Thanks.
Thank you. Department of Health.
Good morning again, everyone. I just wanted to let everyone know that, as many of you may be aware, that I am in the New York City watershed section with the Bureau of Water Supply Protection here at DOH, and we are currently in program discussions with New York City DEC, and EPA to discuss the new and upcoming 2027 filtration avoidance determination for New York City's water supply. So we have these ongoing discussions over the summer and maybe into the fall if we need them. And then this month DOH will be issuing our FAD compliance assessment of New York City's success with their filtration avoidance determination and all the things that they do for that. And then later this year, New York City will be submitting to us, and I believe it will be publicly available, the long-term watershed protection plan. That will be this December. And then with that, then we will be moving into releasing a draft 2027 FAD for public comment, hopefully in April of 2027. I believe, I'm not quite sure how long our comment period will be for that, but I believe it will be about 60 days. And then we will be issuing the final 2027 FAD in late 2027 with a response to comments document as well. So if anyone were to have comments that they would like to submit for during this, while we're in this FAD discussion process, I will drop our email for FAD comments, and then also, if you want to do snail mail or paper mail, I will also drop our address for that as well. Other than that, I don't think I have anything else. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Morgan.
Yeah, no problem.
About Department of State.
No real reports, just a couple things kicking around with us. Bond Act reviews are underway, and our consolidated funding application window is quickly closing. I believe that closes the end of this month. Then our CFA reviews will get underway shortly after that. So busy summer season for DOS. Oh, and I want to call her out. Our DOS representation here has doubled today. I'm joined today by a colleague, Brittany Ryan. I don't know if Brittany wants to introduce herself as well.
Thanks, Pete. Yep. Hi, everybody. I'm Brittany Ryan. I'm in the LWRP unit with Pete out of the Albany office, and I'm happy to be here.
Well, we're certainly happy to have you join. Thanks for calling in. Okay, how about Cornell Cals? Joseph.
Hey everyone, great to be here. Yeah, just wanted to say, give a few updates. I forgot if I gave this last time, but in June 1st, Jeff B. Miller started as our new perennial soil health or perennial fruit soil health specialist, taking over some of the great work that Debbie Aller was doing now that she's the director of the New York Center for Organics, Recycling, and Education. And the New York Soil Health Field Days are well underway. We've had 3-4 very successful events, 2 events this week, one here in Tompkins County and then one in Brooklyn. And then we'll have a week a weekish off, and then we'll have 5 or 6 events in a row. One close to most of you folks in Albany in the Bethlehem Environmental Commons. And then we have our big New York Ag Showcase coming up on August 12th and 13th, back to back with New York Corn and Soybean. So a busy time. So just wanted to, I'll pop in the chat the link so you can share out with your networks. They should be great events. We have some really awesome demonstration plots at the Rodman Lot farm in partnership with Seneca, Cuga, Tompkins Soil Water, Rod Porter, Pro Dairy, and obviously Rodman Lot for helping put in the demonstration plots. So some really, really wonderful demonstration plots on cover crop, biostrip till, reduced tillage with zone building, and a power of manure demonstration. So that'll be pretty wonderful. If you aren't receiving the New York Soil Health newsletter yet, or you have new folks entering your office, I would encourage folks to sign up for that. We have some nice newsletters that are great for resharing for these events. And if you have folks that want to be more involved with the New York Soil Health Alliance, just ping me and I'll make sure to add them to that list. Thanks so much, everyone.
Thank you. Dan with CCE, any reports today?
Just one thing, Judson Reed has been appointed the Assistant Director for Food and Agriculture for Extension, and will have a primary responsibility with our regional agriculture teams. Judd had at least 25 years that he's been with Extension as a vegetable specialist in our Cornell vegetable program, which covers Western New York, a lot of work that he did with high tunnels. So looking forward to Judd's leadership in that new role. And that's all I have for today.
Right, thank you. Let's see, have we had anyone join from SUNY ESF? How about NRCS?
Good morning, it's Elena Covington at NRCS. I just have a few items. Our pre-approval deadline is slated for August the 7th, and that's when the first round of contracts that have made it through will be selected and announced to the state. We expect to have our fiscal year 2027 announcements out to the public by mid-August, and all of our agreements are still routing through our new portal, which is called Bridge. It stands for Business Relationships and Interagency Documentation Governance Ecosystem. God bless you if you can remember all that.
Yeah.
So but it's a new process that every NRCS agreement has to route through, except for our EWP ones. And this is the first round, the first year, the first experience with navigating this new process. So currently, all of our agreements are sort of held up in that portal. And what happens in it is our national office completes their reviews before states continue to develop new agreements or amend existing agreements. And that's all I have.
Thank you very much, Elena. Okay, and last but certainly not least is our CDEA advisory member.
Yeah, good morning, Nicholas Klemchek, CDEA Vice President here. Jessica Armstrong, CDEA President, did send a report to Bethany in advance of the meeting to append to the meeting minutes, but I'll touch on a few highlights. Jess has been actively attending meetings, facilitating meetings around the state to ensure CDEA's support and contribution to Soil and Water Conservation District employees. The Conservation Skills Workshop, Administrative Conference, and Water Quality Symposium committees are working hard to begin the planning process and getting those excellent trainings out for employees and partners. If you have any, the Conservation Skills and Administrative Conference are pretty well planned. But if you do have any courses that come to mind for the Water Quality Symposium, you can send those to myself, Nick Klemchek, and I can get those to the right committee chairs for each of the training sessions. So send those my way if you have any thoughts on that. The CDA Board Bylaws Subcommittee will be meeting this fall to go over updates to our CDEA bylaws. That will be proposed in March of 2027 at the annual meeting. If there is any interest in helping out with that, reach out to Alice Holleran or Jessica Armstrong to get involved. The Legislative Committee recently formed and has been hard at work developing a request for proposals for lobbying services for CDEA and Soil Water Conservation District employees. The RFP was just sent out statewide, I was told. So we're hoping to get that that moving forward at our August CDA meeting. Also save the date for the Conservation Skills Workshop. It's going to be held at the Hilton in Auburn from August 5th to, October 5th to the 8th. Should be a good week of field training, and more details and information will be shared closer to the event. A couple upcoming events. We have a CDA managers meeting this Friday from 9:30 to 12 for Soil and Water Conservation District managers. So please attend that and bring any concerns forward to Jess there at the meeting. We have a CDA meeting August 27th. That will be held via Zoom. So tune into that. That'll be a one-day meeting. And then there's a CDA meeting planned for November 17th and 18th in Division 8, which is down in New York City. We're kind of working out the details for that and where exactly that's going to be held, but it'll be neat to see what New York City is doing down there at their district. So yeah, just, reach out if you have any questions for CDA to Jessica Armstrong or myself, or your division representative in your division. So thank you.
Thank you, Nick. All right, Matt, I think that concludes our voting and advisory member reports.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Bethany. We will go to the 2026 SWCD Annual Plan of Work approval for Herkimer County.
Thank you very much.
So,
I'll provide just a brief overview, I guess, about what that's all about, and certainly Ryan Cunningham, if you want to layer in any additional details. But typically each year, the state committee approves the annual plans of work from districts, and we try to do that by the end of the calendar year. So Herkimer's plan, along with the other district plans, were approved in December of last year. But sometimes districts will go back and revisit their plans and add projects or programs that have kind of come in after the initial approval. And in this case, that is what happened. So Herkimer County is actually requesting that the state committee reapprove their annual plan of work. But I did just want to kind of summarize the changes that they made to their annual plan of work. And if anyone is ever interested in looking at a district's annual plan of work, we do have them saved, digitally, and we can make them available to you. But the Herkimer County Soil and Water added some projects that were funded through the Finger Lakes Lake Ontario Protection Alliance, otherwise known as FLOPA. They are doing some additional Japanese knotweed projects, and some additional hydro seeding. They also had some projects funded through the Upper Susquehanna Coalition. These include 2 additional farms that will be implementing cover crops and 1 farm that will be completing some reforestation and buffer project. The district also had a hydro seeding program funded where they will be able to do 4 additional sites through that. And they are adding 2 additional sites to their invasive species program for more Japanese knotweed treatment and monitoring. Ryan, did I miss anything?
No, that's good coverage there, Bethany. Thank you. I think it's probably normal for a lot of districts to modify existing programs and add minor things here and there, but Herkimer County was especially aware of their pesticide application just because they're under strict oversight from DEC. They wanted to make sure these were covered and kind of be conservative within their annual plan of work to make sure that all sites were listed where they intended to work. So that's the basis of it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, is there any questions or discussion concerning the changes to their plan? If not, a motion to approve?
I motion to approve the plan.
All right, second?
Second.
All right, we'll go to voting. Darren?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Maureen? Maureen? I wonder if she's on mute. Megan?
Aye.
And
aye for me as well. Motion approved.
Maureen is giving a thumbs up. She is, you are on mute for some reason.
Okay. All right. So yeah, that's aye. Okay. Very good. Agricultural non-point source pollution abatement and control program update and amendments from Jason.
Okay.
Sorry
Thanks,
about that.
Today I'll run through Ag non-point source amendments and program status update. Today there's only 1 amendment for state committee voting members consideration, and it's out of Region 1. I'll bring this to your attention now. So Allegheny Soil and Water Conservation District is seeking a 12-month extension on a Round 28 project C701491 titled Chinunda Creek BMPs. The project includes silage leachate control treatment system and access control system and soil conservation system cultural. The soil conservation portion system is completed. That was cover crops. But the farm and district are requesting a 12-month extension to complete the remaining systems. There was a death in the family of the participating farm. Surviving members of the farm are committed to completing the project, and they're just looking for 1 more extension to complete all requirements of the grant in compliance. So this was brought to us by Victor DiGiacomo, Region 1 AEA. There's been no previous extensions or amendments, and we are available for questions if needed.
My question would be, I see that the ending date was January of this year. Was it that the family was unaware that there was ability to amend the timeline, or what happened there?
Yeah, that was brought up to me by our AEA. It just got lost in the shuffle of personal issues. They just couldn't incur expenses between now and the extension date, which I don't believe that they did.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or discussion? If not, motion to approve.
I'll make that motion. It's Maureen.
Okay, I think, did we have a first and a second there?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Okay, very good, thanks. We'll go to voting. Darren?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Megan?
Aye.
Maureen?
Aye.
And aye for me as well, so the motion is approved. All right, is there program updates, Jason?
There is a quick program update. Just run through our dashboard quickly. Some updates since last meeting. Our active rounds are again rounds 24 to 30. 156 of the contracts in those rounds have been completed, 24 canceled, 130 active, and no more are pending. We have all round 30s executed and claiming payments. Since last meeting, we closed out one round 24. There's 2 more remaining. We completed a round 26 and canceled a round 26. 2 round 27s were completed and 1 round 29 was completed. So that's existing rounds. Moving forward to the timeline generally of the program for July State Committee, we are going to be, approving the ranked list for Ag Point Source round 31. That'll be done in executive session after the normal open portion of the meeting. Moving into August is when we will start issuing award letters and non-award letters for those awarded and not awarded, debriefs, and procurement record. Into September, which will be the next time this body meets, we'll start issuing contracts, or working on contracts, and we'll also come to State Committee for approval of the next round RFP. That'll be round 32. So keep that on your radar. We will obviously get you the draft RFP for your approval ahead of time to review. So that's the near and current of Ag Point Source. Any questions for me?
All right, very good. Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
All right, and we are on the Climate Resilient Farming Program amendments and update with Jennifer.
Thank you, Matt and everybody. This is Greg Albrecht. I'm subbing in for Jennifer, the CRF program manager, as she's on leave. And it's just an update today. There are no amendments for CRF. So as we are familiar with, CRF has several often compatible missions to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, increase carbon sequestration on ag lands and including forested ag lands, and help farms prepare for changing climate and become more resilient in the face of climate change. And as you'll see, more steady progress toward those goals is in hand here. For round 9, you recall a little over 25 million was awarded, and Jennifer and our colleagues in council and fiscal divisions of Ag and Markets have been working very hard to get those contracts together, and districts should see copies of those in August. So they're moving ahead nicely. For round 10, thanks to the voting members and advisory committee members for the final review of the round 10 RFP during the June meeting and approval. That means it's moved on to our Ag and Markets Council for their review, which is the customary process in the timeline, and with a tentative release of that RFP in the vicinity of Climate Week in September of 2026. As you recall, there was sort of a bifurcated decision made with that, and we're continuing to pursue additional funding beyond the EPF allocated funds, which is 16.8. If we are able to add funds, that will trip the mechanism to include a small portion in a new track 5, which we contemplated and approved last in June. And if we're unable to add additional funds to round 10, it'll be supported with the nearly 17 million from EPF funds, and the RFP will have the customary tracks 1 through 4. So thanks to the districts and state committee staff for all the concept generation later in 2025 and earlier in 2026 that Jennifer led. And then, the formal drafting of the RFP and the review and consideration at the June meeting, and now our attorneys and looking at the final draft of it. So stay tuned on the final budget, but good solid work to make to continue improvement with how we offer CRF. In terms of performance from districts, farmers, state committee staff, and partners, an overview of the contracts. We're in round 9 with awarded projects. CRF started with executed contracts in 2016, and it's resulted in 283 executed contracts for almost $95 million since then. And another exciting milestone that Jennifer wanted me to relay on her behalf today was we collectively, with all involved, have completed and closed out all round 5 contracts. And those started were executed in 2021. So keeping decent track with, that 5-year contract window and having them executed, implemented, and closed out at a decent clip. So that's that round 5 row is a nice one to focus in on, and it's good to see zeros in the active contracts and rounds completed. Round 8 is just
good to see. Good to see that, Greg. That progress, on those first 5 rounds and seeing things getting closed out. That looks good.
Yeah. Round 8 is getting underway with implementation, and round 9, I just mentioned, contracts are being developed. So these are the funds that are associated with that, but the same story as before, the prior slide. And just in words here, summary, since the June meeting and Jennifer's report on CRF, 0 canceled contracts, 4 closeouts approved, 3 of which allowed us to close out the entire round 5. And there's several active contracts or for closeout under review while she's developing new contracts for round 9. So I appreciate Jennifer putting together those slides, and if there's questions, I'm happy to field them. If I can't answer them, I'll have Jennifer follow up in the meantime.
All right, thanks, Greg.
Thank you.
I think we're up to the state aid to district summary of the 2025 annual reports.
Yes. So let me share my presentation for you. Gotta get back to the first screen here. Okay, so myself and Ben Luskin are going to tag team this presentation, but we wanted to share with the state committee a recap on the state aid to districts program. So, as you most likely know, the State Aid to Districts program is supported by the Soil and Water Conservation District line, which is in the Environmental Protection Fund. And the Environmental Protection Fund is the portion of the New York State budget that supports most of the state committee programs. So this graph that you're seeing on the screen is kind of a tracking of the overall appropriations that were included in the EPF in that Soil and Water Conservation District line. The chart here goes back approximately 14 years, and you can see that there has been a pretty steady increase in the funding levels throughout that course of time. Going back to 2012, the Soil and Water Conservation District line was appropriated $3.5 million. And as you can see, over the course of 14 years, we are now at $19 million for the Soil and Water Conservation District line, which was just included in this year's EPF. So this is a really, it's a nice graph to see. It's nice to see the steady increases. There are a couple years where the appropriation remained level or perhaps was given a very slight increase, but There are two spots on this chart that are worth highlighting. In 2016 and in 2022, the Soil and Water District line received a pretty significant increase. And a little bit later on in the presentation, Ben is going to touch on how that has impacted district staffing levels. So, we wanted to share this just to give, voting members and advisory members just an overall picture of what things have looked like over the past years. But also want to mention here that funding from this line, it supports the State Aid to Districts program, which is intended to enhance local county appropriations and, further support district operations, staff capacity, and conservation programming. And Ben, feel free to jump in if I missed anything. If I can get this thing to advance, it's not moving. Oops, too far. Okay, so here's kind of a summary of the different parts of the State Aid to Districts program. The program is separated into 3 parts. Part A is a reimbursement for technical expenses that are incurred by the district. And in order to qualify for those funds, a district needs to show that they have incurred at least $120,000 worth of eligible expenses in order to earn up to $60,000 max. And so in general, Part A is a 50% reimbursement. So for most districts, they could qualify for that $60,000 reimbursement. There is one caveat with New York City, being that the New York City Soil and Water Conservation District is comprised of, it kind of encompasses the 5 boroughs of New York City. They can qualify for $300,000 reimbursement, provided that they show that they have expended $600,000 worth of technical expenses. So through Part A, we'll explain a little bit more in the following slides, but all of the expenses have to be technical in nature, and those can include the salaries for the district managers and technicians. Part B is a conservation, is focused on a conservation project. So districts can receive $6,000 annually to conduct a conservation project, which has been pre-approved by the state committee. So each year, by November 1st, districts have to submit their project requests to state committee staff for review and approval, and that's a project that they intend to do the following year. As I already mentioned, districts can receive $6,000, but just like with Part A, New York City is eligible to receive $30,000 for a conservation program or project. Through Part B, no match is required when it comes to paying for the costs of the project or the program, but certainly we do see a lot where districts will utilize another source of funds to bolster or help pay for the costs of whatever project they're implementing. So while there is no match required, we do track it on our final Part B final reports if districts do use it. And the last part of the state aid is Part C, and that is performance-based funding, where if a district can justify that they've met all of the performance measures requirements as they've been defined, they can qualify for the Part C funding. And that is made up of whatever funds are remaining in the state aid pot of funding after all of the Part A payments are made and the Part B payments are made. Again, once receiving that Part C funding, districts can then use that to support their operations, hire staff, retain staff. They can use it to purchase office space, update their office space and the like. There's all sorts of different things that districts can do with it. But again, when they're using that funding, no match is required, but we do track it if a district is spending Part C but uses something else to help support those costs. There's a real delay on my computer here. So this chart is just attempting to demonstrate what the actual payments have looked like per district over the past 10-ish years. So it follows a very similar trend to the chart that we saw on the very first slide. Over those past several years, we've seen a pretty steady increase in what individual districts have been receiving. So what you're seeing here is the maximum state, a chart of the maximum state aid payments that districts have received. So that is if they have met all of the requirements to qualify for the full Part A, if they successfully implemented a Part B project, and if they met all of the requirements, the performance measure requirements to receive Part C, they would receive, these maximum payments. So in 2015, I believe the maximum payment that districts received was $82,173.83. Going on up to in 2025, districts received a total of $309,972.73. So it's a pretty significant increase over those past 10 years and very beneficial to help offset those costs of the district, support their operations, and again, it goes to help bolster those county appropriations that districts receive. All right, so now we're going to dig in just a little bit to explain what each part is in a little bit more detail. So again, Part A is a reimbursement for eligible expenditures, and districts are required to show that they have expended $120,000, or in New York City's case, $600,000 worth of eligible expenses in order to receive that full 50% reimbursement. The reimbursement is limited to expenditures for, we mentioned earlier, district managers and technicians, specifically their salaries, but also for the purchase of supplies and equipment related to the district's ability to implement technical assistance. So that can also mean vehicle purchases, equipment purchases, and tool purchases are all eligible expenses through Part A. Certain insurances and contractual services are eligible. And we also allow some miscellaneous supplies, cell phone costs, computer, and the like, all can be reported on the Part A report and count towards those eligible expenditures. So in 2025, we had only one district that did not meet the $120,000 minimum requirement. Oftentimes districts will fall short of their of that threshold because they may have limited staff, or there is staff turnover and they're not able to report the full salary of those particular staff members. Oftentimes being embedded within a county government can also contribute to a district falling short of that requirement. And then, if that particular year a district did not make a significant equipment purchase or vehicle purchase, sometimes that can impact that eligibility as well. So with that one district, we were able to reimburse 50% of their of what they were able to report. And then the remainder kind of went back into that pot and again was utilized as through the Part C payment. So in total in 2025, districts showed $24.8 million in eligible expenditures. And that obviously way exceeded, the minimum that they would have needed to report to be eligible for the Part A payments. I believe districts would only need to really report 7.44 million in order, that would be the minimum amount if all districts maxed out Part A. So districts are going above and beyond out there, and this is good. We like to show what actual expenses are happening out there to really justify that districts are expending funds on their staff to do technical assistance work in their counties. All that said, a total of $3.68 million was reimbursed to districts for Part A in 2025. All right, moving on to Part B. So,
Just a quick question about A, if that's okay.
Yeah, please.
In the instance, say you had an instance where you mentioned not having limited staff or something, if there was a district that had limited staff, they had to borrow from another district to complete some things, would that district that they're borrowing a person from be eligible for the funds that the district who's short would not be eligible for, or is it strictly district by district?
That's a really good question, Ben. I'm going to let you know.
I would say yes. It depends on what they're working on, because certain state programs are not eligible to be reimbursed through Part A. So if they were working on like AEM, it would not be able to be reimbursable. But if they were working on we'll say a non-ag project that wasn't associated with, the DEC WQIP program, then they would be a contracted employee and they could be reported on the Part A report. Yeah, it really comes down to what they're working on in that case.
And as long as like part of their salary is not already supported by another state funding source, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so for Part B, as we already mentioned, districts are given $6,000, or in New York City's case, $30,000 upfront to complete a conservation project or implement a conservation program. In 2025, all of the reports were reviewed, and districts reported completing 61 projects, or I should say 61 projects were completed by 56 soil and water conservation districts. 2 districts in the state were not able to complete a project, and 3 of our districts had projects that actually came in under budget, or they utilized another source of funds, so they didn't expend all of their Part B funding. So when that happens, that funding is returned to the state and is rolled into the next year's funding. So approximately $19,000 will be returned and rolled into the funding for 2026. So I wanted to just throw up some photos here and highlight a few Part B projects that were completed by districts across the state. In the top left corner, that is a picture from the Nassau County Soil and Water Conservation District. Through Part B, they were able to implement a composting and soil health project. They constructed a 3-bin composting system that collected food scraps and will generate usable material that will be distributed to Nassau County residents. That is also, I recall reading their report, a really great opportunity. They had a lot of interest from community members, and I didn't write down the stat, but they were able to collect a significant amount of food scraps, and it's been a really good outreach and education tool or a program down there in that county. The top middle photograph is from the Genesee County Soil and Water. Through Part B, they were able to replace an undersized failing culvert with a 3-sided concrete box culvert. The new crossing increases the capacity significantly while also maintaining a natural bottom for aquatic habitat connectivity. The picture on the top, but on the right side, is from the Erie County Soil and Water Conservation District. For this project, they combined several sources of funding. I believe Part B funding, Part C funding, as well as ecosystem-based management funding were all utilized in this particular project to implement approximately 365 linear feet of stream bank stabilization and a 35-foot wide riparian buffer that ran the entire length of the project. On the bottom left, that is a project that was completed by the Seneca County Soil and Water Conservation District. Through this project, they collaborated with the county highway department to mitigate erosion damage that was occurring along an impaired stream that was also impacting a cash crop field. So they were able to get in there and do some work to hopefully prevent further erosion from happening on that site. The middle bottom photo was from Schenectady County Soil and Water. With their Part B funding, they were able to purchase a silt sock bagging unit, which is a piece of equipment that is used to fill and create filter socks for several different projects to help remove sediment from the stormwater at various project sites. And then the last photo on the bottom on the right is from the New York City Soil and Water Conservation District. And with their Part B funding, they host an annual green infrastructure bus tour that is used to educate participants on various green infrastructure projects and the benefits that they provide beyond just stormwater management. So there's a lot of variety of projects that we see through Part B, and I've really appreciated the opportunity to actually dig into these reports a little bit more and learn about just the variety of things that are happening out there across the state. All right, so moving on, the remaining state aid to district funds all go towards our Part C, which is the performance-based funding. Districts earn the Part C funding by meeting all of the standards within each performance measure. And we have a very nice rubric that was created that defines all of those performance measures, and they're split up into, we have 5 different performance measures. The first is, the first focuses on extending the and sufficiency of district board activity, which includes number of meetings, training of the board members and staff, completing an annual audit, establishment of internal policies, and district board member participation at state, regional, or national meetings. Performance measure 2 focuses on district education and outreach, as well as annual work plan submittal. Performance measure 3 is focused on the district's ability to use state aid funding to leverage additional funds to do work out in their counties. Performance measure 4 looks at the district's ability to deliver state natural resource programs. And last is performance measure 5, which assesses the district's ability to promote partnerships. So each one of these performance measures are assigned a percentage of the overall value. So when we're assessing whether or not a district has met all of the criteria within each performance measure, if we find that they don't qualify for one of the performance measures, that the percentage is deducted from their final payment. So we've kind of tracked the percentages over the past few years. Most recent obviously being 2026, were the percentages that were approved by the state committee. We're still trying to determine what we would like or what they should be for 2027, which is why you see a bunch of question marks there. So for 2025, the amount for a district, or the amount that a district received if they qualified for all of the 5 performance measures, was $243,972.73. This year, we had a bit of a unique situation where there was a leftover balance from 2024. So we added, so the amount for districts that met specifically performance measure 1 in 2024 was slightly increased. So there were a few districts that received a slightly higher payment than that. But when you look at, compare that payment to what was paid out in 2024, districts received approximately 12, almost 13,000 more in Part C funding. And this year, after reviewing the performance measures, we determined that 5 districts did not meet performance measure 1, and there was 1 district that did not meet performance measure 4. And specifically, I guess, to talk a little bit more about that, performance measure 1 is the performance measure that focuses on the number of district board meetings, district trainings, and those types of elements. I think in most, all of those cases when districts did not meet that performance measure 1, it was due to maybe a board member not receiving a training in the year, or not attending a required meeting. And with the 1 district that didn't meet the performance measure 4, that is the one that is focused on the delivery of state natural resource programs. And I believe in that performance measure, we require districts to promote or deliver a certain number of programs. And in this case, the district, didn't meet that certain number. So some highlights from Part C. So each year we would ask districts to report or submit a final report to demonstrate how they're using those performance measure funds, the Part C funds. So those funds can be used to support district operations and staff capacity. And we talked a little bit about that a few minutes ago. Districts can also use those to implement landowner assistance programs, municipal assistance programs, conservation education and outreach programs for schools. And they can also use that funding to support initiatives that are being headed up by non-governmental organizations. So when we assess the 2025 Part C final reports, we determined that 21 soil and water conservation district staff positions are being fully funded by Part C funding, which is pretty amazing. And 213 district staff positions are being funded by coupling Part C funding with funding from other sources. So this funding is supporting district staff capacity and helping districts to keep staff on staff. We tallied up the various different assistance programs that districts are reporting. So on their Part C final reports for landowner assistance programs, and these are programs intended to assist private landowners with conservation projects. They could be agricultural in nature or not, but essentially they're providing technical assistance to private landowners. Districts reported that they implemented 64 different programs. And I just want to kind of put a disclaimer out there that the way our Part C final report is structured, some districts might only report 1 landowner assistance program, but within that program, there may be many or multiple, smaller different programs. So just keep that in mind. Those are kind of the basic numbers that we receive, but often that number is probably much higher. For municipal assistance programs, same number. Districts reported implementing 64 different programs to support various municipalities. And again, through that particular portion of the Part C funding, those programs are often implemented in partnership with county or local public works departments or highway departments. So it's a really great opportunity for the two entities or multiple entities to work together to support the needs of a municipality. We had 23 initiatives, or 23 districts report that they supported initiatives from non-governmental organizations. And, this is an initiative that is headed up by various different non-governmental organizations and districts, work in partnership to support those. 22 conservation education programs were implemented by soil and water conservation districts with Part C funding, and those are all geared towards students in grades K through 12. And then we do have an other category. So oftentimes districts are working on projects and initiatives that don't really fit neat and tidy within one of those other categories. So we have an other category, and districts reported that they implemented 15 other projects, which could include water quality sampling, community conservation, and watershed planning efforts. So I just realized, Ben, that I pulled up the wrong version of the presentation. So hang on one second.
All right. No worries.
Take a brief pause before shifting to Ben and his discussion on hourly rates. Are there any questions at this point while I'm?
Yeah, I have a couple, Bethany. So if a district doesn't meet requirements, is there any counseling or guidance or help for them to say here, or do they pretty much already know? And have the same districts fallen short a couple years in a row?
So I think the answer is yes to both of those questions. So when certainly throughout the year, our regional coordinators are actively engaged with all of the districts that they work with to make sure that they're on track to meeting all of the performance measures. And if there's an issue with board member training, our staff are there to help give that training if need be, or make those resources available. And when it comes to the end of the year, what I guess I realized doing this year, Ben, you can hop in too, particularly with the performance measures. I think districts are aware and know that, yeah, we fell short, we'll take it this year and work harder next year to make sure everybody's trained or everybody's getting to meetings. I don't know, do you have other?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think most of the time when we've had to do follow-up in the past and somebody has fallen short, 75+% of the time, the district manager is already aware that they fell short. They realize that, whether that was before the end of the year or not until they actually did their reporting, I don't really know, but they realize it once, we send them an email to follow up with them. Most of the time they fall short. It is for the reasons Bethany already pointed out. Director wasn't trained, or 3 of their board members did not go to that 1G regional, statewide type of meeting. That's what it is most of the time. A couple of years ago, we did have some districts fall short because we had a new policy requirement that the districts had to have that data breach policy, which was new, but it's a state requirement. And some of them, there was close to a handful that never put them in place in that fiscal year. So That was a reason a few years ago. Doesn't seem to sound like it was a reason this past year. So that's good. In that case, we did reach out to the districts. We sent them some examples. We pointed to them to other districts that had good data breach policies, so that they could get up to speed and follow. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. That's exactly what I would hope happens, is that they're not just left to without guidance.
Not a question, but just a comment that when looking at the numbers of the state aid to districts, particularly over the years you showed, and when I think of what it used to be when I started with Montgomery County, I'll say a few years ago, I think back then each district was only eligible for up to $10,000 total in state aid from the district. So to think of the progress over the years, it's really amazing.
And Matt, to compare that to other states as well, those that go to NACD meetings or NASCA meetings or any other, nationwide district forums, this program is always propped up as an example that many other states would strive to get to. The fact that it's in the EPF, the fact that it continues to grow year over year, and that you all host forums and engage with districts. For many other states look at this as a model for how states can support their districts.
Yeah, it would be kind of interesting to see, how some of the other states do in terms of funding and support for the districts compared to New York.
I'd like to mention that the $6,000 for Part B doesn't sound like an awful lot, but I think it gives, a vote of confidence and kind of that leeway for our technicians and managers to do something maybe more personalized, and, it results in other bigger projects in the end. So I think that's a great part of our funding.
I would agree with that, Maureen, and it certainly shows when you look through all the final reports, all the different and unique things that are able to get done. All right, I think I'm back on track here.
Sure. Okay. Thank you. Actually, can you go back one slide?
That one?
Yeah, so I was just crunching some numbers just to kind of tie my end into yours a little bit on the first couple bullets there on the staffing. District staff that are partially or completely funded with Part C numbers. Based on our total numbers of staffing in the state, that's about 72% of the district staff workforce that's at least partially supported by Part C funds, which is kind of cool.
It's cool.
Almost 3/4. All right, go ahead. So we're going to start with hourly rates. This is just one of the reports that we collect every year. I have processed this since being with the state committee, and I volunteered to process this again this year. I kind of find it fun to go through all these numbers, put everything together. So we'll see if I keep doing it with the new position, but
Other people need to have fun too.
Is that, well, I think Tyler and Mark have fun already, so somebody else has to do it. But I threw this screenshot up there. So this is just what the report looks like. Essentially, when the districts receive it, there's separate tabs for each of the 4 positions. So we do managerial, technicians, secretarial, and engineers. So it just has their base salary along with the district share of any other benefits are listed in there, and then the total at the bottom. It also breaks out if they work a 35, 37 and a half or 40-hour work week. For some of the other positions, there is also some boxes in there if they are part-time staff for them to tell us how many hours those part-time staff work. And then at the bottom, there are our common certifications that districts tend to have, AM and NRCS planners, TIMS program with the approval authority, CPASC, CCA, and the New York State Erosion and Sediment Control Training. So we've started tracking that about 6 years ago just to try to see if there was another correlation between how much districts are getting paid salary-wise and certifications, along with the number of years that they've been at their position. We haven't really got a lot of good data to crunch out of it. Districts aren't always the best at checking those boxes sometimes, but we still try to gather and check it the best we can. Go ahead. So then we take that data and we put it in a big spreadsheet that's sorted by that individual position title, and then we come up with our average salaries and average benefits. So you can see here, it's broken out by each position for 2025. This is what was reported. So definitely these have been going up over the last 7 years or so. They've been going up a little more steadily than they were previous, which we'll see on a future slide. But this is essentially, again, the base salary and then the salary with benefits. That little disclaimer at the bottom, that's for the whole state, regardless of what district, what region of the state, how many years of experience. So that's 1 to 40 something years of experience for some district managers, certifications, funding sources, etc. We do kind of crunch to what percentage, just so we started tracking this a couple years ago, what percentage of the benefits was part of the total package. And really for all the positions, it's somewhere between 29 and 33% is the average, that amount of benefits, percentage of benefits for each of those positions. Go ahead. So then we take those average salaries and benefit numbers and we divide it by a Department of Budget figure for the number of work hours in a year. So it's a little bit different than just taking the standard number of work days and multiplying it by 40 hours. It's a little bit different than that, but it's an official Department of Budget document. So that's what we've been using for the last 20 plus years. And that average or that math gives you these hourly rates. So you can see for this year, the rates that went into effect April 1st, manager increased by $5 an hour, technician, both senior tech and regular tech increased by 1, engineer went up by 3, secretarial went up by 3. So again, this changes a little bit year to year. Usually secretarial and the general tech are pretty much the same. They kind of leapfrog each other, but they're all around the same amount. Same with engineer and managerial. They're usually pretty close overall, within a couple bucks of each other. There has been a bigger spread. That senior tech is what we use for our AEM rate, which that did change a little bit this year with different rates. But generally that's 10 years or more of experience with the districts. You fall into that senior tech rate for our programs. That what used to be a little bit closer. We've seen that spread out. It's $10 difference now between the two positions, but it used to be like $5 or $6, and now it's definitely spread out a little bit more. So I think that just shows that districts are paying their senior techs that have been with them longer, probably gaining certifications. They're paying them more, a higher wage.
Ben, are we also seeing more senior techs as far as the data set?
We were. The last few years, it's actually trended the other direction, just due to, I think, retirements.
Okay.
So it's gone down a little. I think just last year to this year, it went down by 5.
So it could be retirements from those techs, or it could be retirements from managers and those techs moving into the management role.
Right.
But
either way, they're transitioning somewhere else. Right.
Because for the retention discussion, that data set is really important.
Yes. Yep. Yep. And I think we have a couple quick bullets on that at the end of the presentation here. So these rates that we set, they do include the salary and benefits. They're not just the straight salaries to get these hourly rates. The last line there was overhead. So last year, for the first time in 26 years, we increased the overhead, stuck at $5 since 1999. But we did a little math and we got it up to $15. And then, so we're going to redo that calculation every year. And so this year it just went up by another $1. And those are used in our RFPs for all of our programs. Go ahead. So these are the same numbers in those first, the second and third column for our rates. Then
Last two columns just shows the amount that those positions have increased over the last 3 years and over the last 7 years. So you can see there is a bit of a bump. It seems to be outpacing like your 2.5%, 3% inflation fairly decently, especially for the managerial position. That's gone up quite a bit. And as you can see, the senior tech has gone up more as well. So it's something we kind of look at, track over time, just to see how much it is increasing dollar wise, percentage wise, year over year. Good. So then once all those numbers are crunched, we send out this memo around the last week in March every year, because these do go into effect with the state's fiscal year as of April 1st. So any RFPs, that sort of thing that get released after April 1st will use the new rates, but then those rates stick with the RFP. So the districts use those same rates for as long as their contract is active. Good. So these are staffing numbers since 2014. Obviously, the first column, managerial, not going to change much. That's at 57% or 57 because there is one district. Their engineer does the managerial position, but he really considers himself an engineer. So his time falls under the engineering column there. Technical is really the one that increases a lot. You can see how much it's increased over time. 121 techs at 2014, and as of 2025, there's 199. The engineers we started tracking in 2018. Before, I think they were just lumped in with the technicians. We didn't track them separately. So that stays about the same. You know, sometimes we pick up one or drop one. Secretarial has increased over time, not a lot, but it has gone up. There's several districts now that have more than one secretarial position. They may have one full-time, one part-time. But as you can see in the far right-hand corner, we've definitely added on staff over time, including this past year. There were 7 new positions created across the state in 2025. So they are at, Bethany, if you want to click one more time, that should put some nice pretty lines here. So Bethany made a comment in the beginning, looking at that first chart, to make a note of those bigger bumps to state aid. So on that orange line, that's that first bump where it jumped like $3.75 million that year. So you can see districts use that and they added on staff when that happened, which is great to see. That was, I think, partially the goal of state committee was recruitment, retention for district staff across the state. The purple line, there wasn't a very big jump that year. I think it might have been like $500,000, but that's when district law changed. That's when districts were allowed to keep the Part C money. They didn't have to return it to us. They could keep it in their bank account. They could do a lot more things with it as long as it meets their mission, district law, etc. So they obviously decided they were going to hire more staff at that point as well. And then the green's a little deceiving at the bottom. 2 things are going on there. It looks like a really big jump. We were missing some districts at the time, not districts, but some staff, specifically in the New York City watershed, that hadn't been previously reported, specifically from, I think, Delaware and Ulster County. They weren't reporting their New York City staff. So we worked with them to make sure they did report them. So we were getting everybody accounted for. But that's about half of that number. The other half is straight added on positions that year. So we were able to get about 16 new staff that year when we got that second large state aid bump, because on that year, there was another $3.5 million bump that year. So I think the data shows when the districts get a bump, they add on staff. But it's consistently going up, 327 total staff in the state currently, based on our calculations. So that's a pretty big increase compared to where we were at one time. Go ahead, Bethany. I think this is the last slide. So these are just a few other things, kind of stats. 39% staff growth across all districts in the last 11 years. So that aligns with that data we just saw. Each district on average has 5.64 staff people, but that's taken into account. There's a few districts that only have 1 staff person and several that have 10 plus. 43 of the 57 managers have over 10 years of district experience. 60 of the 199 technicians have over 10 years experience. That goes along with Brian's question. I think last year that was at like 65 were senior techs. And there were also 5 part-time technicians and 2 part-time engineers reported. That number has generally, engineers stayed the same, part-time technicians has definitely trended down over the years. Probably 12 years ago, I think we had like 20 something part-time techs across the state. But most techs are now full-time.
Ben, what's the percentage of managers nearing retirement?
We'd have to ask them. I mean,
Well,
how
I
many
mean-
out there already are retirement eligible, right? Currently.
Yeah, we don't have stats on that, right? We only have years of service, but that doesn't really tell us much, right?
Right, not really. I mean, we could guess.
Well, isn't it, could you end up with a mass exodus of retirees in the next couple of years?
Right. We could, I think that's probably coming, but we have no way to predict when anybody's gonna go. You know when Corey's gonna go? Right. I think that's the thing. Yeah. Yep.
So you talk about the added numbers. Do we have a general feeling of how districts feel in terms of having staffing? Do they feel like there's enough? Do they feel like there's a need for more? Or is that a question that we can
I mean,
ask?
even though we say, I think that's a question only each individual district can answer, but like that 5.6 average staff per district, I think most districts have gone from having a manager, a clerk position, and 2 techs to now adding on at least a 3rd tech, some a 4th tech, and that's kind of average or normal across the state. But it seems like there's quite a few of them are willing to expand and add on more if the programs are there. I know they are in my region, they're looking to add on more, but they're trying to figure out what programs they have to fund those positions, right? Especially if they're already maxing out AIM, they've already got a good amount of ag non-point and CRF contracts. How much more of the Part C money do they want to put towards staffing salaries versus putting that towards actual programs, right? That's just the balance that the manager and the board has to figure out, I think. But I think most are willing to keep adding on more staff if they can do it in a good manner. I think the other thing we're seeing though is even though we added on like 7 positions, new positions across the state this last year, we try to keep track of all of the position announcements that come out through us. There's plenty that I think don't come out through us, but the ones that we do, and I bet you we have a file of 25, 30 positions that we advertised last year. So that means all the rest of those are backfills. So with more staff across the state does come more turnover, it seems like, as well. So it's just hard to predict.
The decrease in part-time technicians, is that, you say that's a change in the workforce, or is that districts just changing how they?
My feel is that it's just, they've had more money, so they're willing to just hire on full-time staff and not be like, we can only afford a part-timer for 5 months of the year.
Then what's our guidance on when district reports staff? Like if staff start just before the reports are due, do they generally report them? And then obviously they only have a couple of months, or do they wait
They
another year?
have to on part A. Well, they don't have to, but on part A, they do, because so even if somebody started December 1st, they're gonna want to report that person's salary and benefits to count towards the part A report, if it's a tech or a manager. When it comes, and that's fine because it's based on your actual expenditures on that person.
Right.
When it comes to the hourly rates report, we've seen districts do a few different things, and that usually triggers me to follow up with them. If I see it's, only $10,000 or something that seems less than a reasonable salary, I won't count them in our staffing, or it depends. If I can tell they lost an employee, they gained an employee, then they get counted as one employee. I try not to count anybody twice. I try not to lose anybody. If I can't tell from
report, I send an email to the district manager and try to find out so that we're accurate as we can, essentially.
You know, another thing that I think is probably not captured in these numbers is I know in Fulton County, we have 2 part-time staff people. And of course, I mentioned that we have a couple interns as well. So I think there's probably some other numbers there that don't get included in this in terms of district staffing.
And that may be part of the reason for the decrease. At one point before I came here, state committee, and I think it's still on the report, gave the guidance if they're an intern or a seasonal staff person, not to report that anymore. So part-time really being that they're probably working all year round. It's just a limited amount of hours per.
And part of the reason for that is that in this particular report, it was about getting to that recommended rate for grants purposes.
Right.
And then realizing, wow, there's a lot of other, good data here that could tell a better story as far as the district workforce goes. So we kind of, refined the guidelines over the years so that we not only could do the recommended rates, but we also have a lot more to capture as far as the district workforce goes. But there's probably still some blind spots that we could, or some gaps that we could fill in other reporting.
Possibly. Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, really the hourly rates are set using full-time staff people. So that's anybody 35 hours up. So even though we track like the part-time secretarial positions just to know what we have staff-wise, because some of those part-time secretarial positions have been with us for 20 plus years. We don't actually use their salaries in the numbers. Only the full-time secretarial positions are used in our numbers. So I think that's probably what that's why they made that statement years ago for tracking purposes.
Yep. It was also just like a duty that like the Ag Non-Point program manager would do on their spare time. Oh, we gotta do the recommended rates. Okay, we gotta get into this. But with the district aid position and the reporting and all that, we've been able to spend a lot more time with it, follow up, and be able to report on all these really awesome metrics. Wasn't something that we really could do years back.
And I've considered it a few times looking at those, but it's hard to tell because again, we don't want anything to necessarily negatively affect our recommended rates, right? We don't really want them to go down or go backwards. So then looking at them, especially with the clerks, there's some part-time clerks out there that get paid really well, but there's some that don't get paid really well. So like if we start trying to somehow dovetail them into our numbers, what's that actually going to do to our rates? Is it going to help or not? I tend to lean towards no, it won't help our average rates, but it's something we could look into more.
Good.
I'm good. Does anybody have any questions?
Computer's gotta wake back up. So, all right, yeah, that was Ben's last slide, and this is actually the last slide of the presentation. We just wanted to touch on what some of our next steps are regarding the state aid to districts program. So we have scheduled a state aid to districts forum meeting, which will be on July 28th. We do have in-person locations here in Albany and in Syracuse at the State Fair, but also a virtual option will be provided. This is an opportunity where we get together with soil and water conservation districts and talk about the upcoming year of the State Aid to Districts program. We will talk about any potential changes that might be happening, or we want to kind of run the ideas by districts regarding changes to forms, reporting methods. We will also get district feedback on the performance measure criteria, as well as the percentages. And it's just a great opportunity to connect and get feedback from districts on the program. But from there, we'll make any proposed changes to the forms and develop some recommendations regarding the performance measures, and we will present those to the state committee voting members for consideration, likely at the November meeting. But there are a couple, I guess, upcoming deadlines to be aware of, although at this point they do seem a little far out, but time is gonna fly. November 1st is the deadline for Part B projects for 2027. So districts will need to, we need to probably get out the form, the districts.
Yeah, it
Fill
usually
out.
goes out in August.
Yeah.
Or, yeah, August, that's not cool. Give them a couple months.
So we'll be sending out the project application form for Part B, 2027 projects for districts to fill out and submit. Annual plans of work are also due to be submitted to regional coordinators by November 1st. And then they get reviewed and generally are recommended to the state committee for approval. And at the end of the year in December, we'll share the whole list of annual plans of work, and voting members can vote. So that's where we're at with the state aid to districts program. More to come. Any questions?
Thanks, Bethany and Ben, for that summary. That was very helpful. I believe our next item is the engineering work group ideas and focus.
Yeah, so I threw that on the agenda because I'm looking for a little bit of guidance from the state committee on, I guess, the direction we should be taking regarding our this work group that we put together to try to address the engineering shortages or the issues that districts are having regarding lack of engineers. So I think it was last year at a state committee meeting. It was when we were talking about, I think, an amendment request. We got to talking about the engineering delays that are out there affecting our projects, whether it be through Ag Non-Point Source or CRF, and some of the issues regarding that. And as a result, we kind of put together a work group of folks. The group includes some of our state committee staff. There's a few of our state committee advisory members. On the group, we have a couple district representatives, NRCS staff, and a private engineer are all part of this work group. We've had 2 meetings so far. One happened in January of this year, and then we had another one this past May. Our first meeting was just mainly an introductory meeting to kind of level set the stage, what we were hoping to achieve with the work group. At the second meeting in May, we had a bit more of an in-depth discussion on different ways we could conduct outreach to New York State colleges and universities regarding career opportunities. We also spent the last portion of the meeting brainstorming some ideas for regional engineers that could be brought on if funding were available, and those regional engineers would support soil and water districts and projects that are being implemented by districts. I really think this is a great effort, and I'd like to keep moving this group forward, but I guess I'm just looking for some feedback and thoughts from the state committee on if there's particular areas that we should be focusing on to try to address these engineering challenges, or if there's any guidance or thoughts that you folks had regarding this topic to help kind of give a little bit more direction to our work group. So I'm struggling a little bit, I'll be honest. So
I thought there was some feedback from SUNY ESF about a program they had. Is there any update on that, I guess, or have they been involved in the discussions?
Yes, yep. Our advisory member has been part of those meetings. I don't know if SUNY ESF specifically like has an internship placement program, but I do know there is one through Cornell where they have placed agricultural engineers with a district or two out there. So, you know, that's where we're at.
Yeah, I guess just my thinking is that, I mean, that's one avenue is to continue to work with the universities to, I guess, more or less recruit or try to make students aware that there is an opportunity. And then, you know, and just speaking of my knowledge of a relative who has his engineering degree and, you know, and has a farming background, and you know, I kind of mentioned there that, you know, there's an opportunity, but for some reason, and I think probably it's because he has a young family and he's kind of caught up in that, and he currently has a full-time job. But I think that's the other problem is the recruiting of engineers that are out there in the field and trying to, I guess, make them aware and trying to get them interested in working with the district as opposed to working in other areas. And I don't know, I guess I don't know how you attack that, but that's just something I see as maybe a problem is the people that are already working in the field and trying to see if there's any way to bring them on board.
Bethany, was the group also looking at other roadblocks? I know the engineer I'd contacted after we started this conversation brought up the idea of liability insurance and how hard that is for individual practitioners to afford. And then if you go with a large group to afford it, typically you're probably not going to be working in ag engineering. And I don't know if there are other stumbling blocks like that, but that might be, in addition to the things that we see as perhaps obvious problems, are there things being looked at for, are we talking to more than the one engineer you have on the board?
Right.
In terms to see if there's other stumbling blocks that we would, not being engineers, wouldn't think of.
And didn't we have a previous discussion, like engineering firms don't have the staff to go out into this field of engineering?
I think it probably depends, you know, or I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on that, Tim?
The larger firms, projects are too small, not as.
Yeah, you want to be get involved.
We have a shortage of engineers, but our overall market segment of the economy is too small to attract people. So it's always kind of been this way.
Yeah.
Like we build expensive projects on farms, but you know, statewide they're building millions and billions and billions of dollars worth of highways, of shopping centers, of skyscrapers. You know, kind of stuck with this kind of small market segment.
I think I know the answer to this question, but if the funding were available, can the ag and markets contract with an engineer?
Sure.
Yeah. We've looked at lots of different models, and that could be one. I think the model that is probably most intriguing would be regional engineers that are actual district employees, right? Like there's those models exist now. where they could be supported with state resources, but really be part of a particular district office that works in a regional scale. Maybe it's watershed wide, or maybe it's, a region that's comparable to a state committee region or employees association region. We certainly support engineering hours through our competitive grants programs already, but it's fairly limited as far as how many engineers are working in that space. So you wonder, what point we continue to increase program resources are the engineers, the handful of engineers that we see on the personnel worksheets, able to continue to absorb that additional workload. So I was thinking about a question, Matt, similar to yours, but if the resources were available, would districts actually be able to go out and recruit engineers? And that's where the problems come in, right? Where there's just not as many coming out of school with this level or area of focus or interest. And, how do you square that circle, right? So this work group, I think part of, being in some of these discussions was like, there's the resources itself, right? So the funding to support engineers, but then there's the availability of engineers, then there's the retention of engineers. And I don't know if we've got answers to all of those various questions, but we're certainly good at coming up with more questions and options.
I have an idea about trying to get more students. Is there any ability for some type of scholarship or, I don't know, a sponsored course, something that would come from us to encourage these engineering students to go into an agricultural arena?
Those are interesting questions. And one, I guess, idea I had is more general, but it was that maybe we could work on putting together some type of outreach packet to send to like all of the colleges and universities in New York State that may have applicable degree programs, and just kind of generally describe soil and water districts, what they can offer, there's the career opportunities that might exist out there. Actually, I think the National Association of Conservation Districts put together a really neat career guide for careers in the conservation field, and it kind of gives a brief overview of all these different types of projects. So it's a little bit broader than just with soil and water conservation districts, but I don't know, maybe providing something like that would start to make connections.
I think your best outreach is when an actual person who works in the field or teaches in the field can actually go into classrooms and directly talk to students that are, potentially going in that direction, or, could, at least that seemed to, those types of visits were always more effective in my classrooms when someone came in and presented something. And I don't know how possible that is, but,
Well, the one thought I had, Maureen, and I guess someone from the Employees Association can jump in here, but I wondered about them maybe having funds for a scholarship, as you mentioned. And I also was thinking there's the Envirothon every year, statewide. And I wondered if there was an opportunity there to, I guess, educate those students on the possibility of getting involved in engineering, and I don't know, maybe they already discuss things like that, but that might be a place
I think so,
where.
yeah. I think this could be unique to bring this in front of students, because I really feel like I was clueless when I was still in the classroom about this problem.
No, I don't know what level of crisis we would say we were at in this situation, but you do see programs across the nation like doctors going to rural areas or Teach for America programs where you get a fair amount of your degree paid for. But then you have to say, okay, for the next 5 years or 10 years, I will spend the time in a rural
Yeah.
area. So
Yeah.
I don't know if that's where we're at, but programs like that do exist in other fields. I would say, just having had an engineer graduate in my family this year, that there are lots of engineers that are not employed. So also reaching out to that newly graduated group is not a bad situation, but
I would agree
again,
with Megan
given
on this.
agriculture,
Megan, that you bring up a good point with recent college grads and engineers. I know my alma mater for undergrad, Clarkson University, is a major engineering school. We had a great career center. So if a college or your university has a career services center for students, those are usually good points to reach out to as well. A lot of times they even have their own kind of hiring lists that they send out to folks. I know for Clarkson at one point they were using the website called Handshake for Clarkson alumni to directly reach out to them with job opportunities.
yeah, so I think there's a good audience potentially there if we can make agricultural engineering sound like something they want to do. Because it's not an easy field. It's not engineering that's straightforward engineering. You're going to make a plan, and then you're going to go to that dairy farm, and what do you know, that plan doesn't work. So you have to be able to think on your feet, and that is hard stuff. And then I guess the other part of the question would be, and maybe the group's already looked at that, is what are people on the other end doing? How soon are the engineers that we know are in New York State getting ready to retire? And how much more of a crisis will that be?
Yeah.
Maureen, going back to your comment, he's not on the line, but Scott Fickbaum, who's one of our regional coordinators, has been working with SUNY Oneonta very recently and kind of coming up with I guess a presentation to be able to go in and speak, just as you said, speak with different classes about soil and water conservation districts and those types of opportunities. And I told him I thought that was an awesome idea. And if it starts to really take hold, then maybe we can start taking that or giving it, putting together a presentation that can be shared and delivered by others across the state. If they have the opportunity. I think a lot of districts do that anyway. There's a number of folks who serve as kind of like adjunct professors or will go in and be like a guest speaker for classes at their whatever university might be local to them or within their county.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Bethany.
Well, this has given me a little bit more, I guess, direction. I think maybe putting some thought to how we can reach out to universities and colleges might be an okay place to start. At least be one part of this, addressing this problem. And, we can keep working on figuring out, like Megan said, what maybe are some of the other stumbling blocks out there that are preventing engineers from being engaged.
Bethany, just a quick suggestion, or thought, I guess. Large animal veterinary has the same problem. And so a couple of years ago, Commissioner Cummings, a roundtable to talk about it, and the report they produced, the solutions are pretty similar to like what you brought up now. In a lot of ways, large animal veterinary, their problem is a similar problem. They're competing with medical, other fields of medicine that pay more or are just easier
Small animals
enter.
and companion animals.
Yeah, small animal, of course. And that's even within the animal world. But even that, you know, the lifestyle is just different. But the pro for large animal is a different lifestyle. That is a little more hands-on. That I feel like ag engineering is just a different thing than civil. So in certain ways, their solutions proposed are probably actually pretty close to what ag engineering is dealing with as a industry. So I imagine the solutions in that report, you know, aren't a perfect application, but are probably a place to start.
Public, drop it in the
It is,
chat.
yeah.
I was just gonna say, can you send that to me?
Yeah.
Thank you, Tim. That's a good point.
Very good point.
Sorry, Maureen, did I cut you off?
No, I was just thinking, is there a national group or, regional or state group of engineers that might have that specialty that could be reached, we could reach out to? I really don't know.
Not really, like according to Chad, Cody, like the Agricultural National Fraternal Organization doesn't really have a clue either.
There is the Practicing Institute of Engineers that different engineering groups can be a part of for like their continuing education credits. And I've had to work with them in the past for different, like just getting courses approved for different conferences. And they kind of run this whole database system of getting continuing education out to different engineer groups, as well as individual engineers. But that might be like an avenue for just like facilitating a, bigger conversation if they could do something on their social media or through their emailing that they send out to folks, as well as maybe linking up at some of these bigger conferences in the state. If it's just, like for instance, our water quality symposium has the resource fair, and there are some big engineering groups such as Barton and LaJudas. I'm blanking on some other ones that end up showing up there, and maybe there's like an opportunity with like CDA where we're speaking with some of these folks that are tabling to say like these are a little bit more of our needs if that hasn't happened in the past, or maybe there's like another conference that kind of has that where you're speaking to like the trade show portion rather than like speaking at the conference for like, this is a specific project, you're engaging those people who are tabling. But the folks for the Practicing Institute of Engineers have been really great to work with, and
yeah.
have them.
All right. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate the discussion, but we are a little bit behind in our agenda, so we're gonna have to maybe put a pin in this topic for another meeting. If to anybody on the line, or our state committee members, if you have any other thoughts in this particular agenda item that you weren't able to verbalize, just please I ask you to send me an email or give me a phone call, and we'll keep trying to move it forward. Thank you. Thank you for the discussion.
All right, Bethany, thanks. I think it was a good discussion, and hopefully we keep plugging along and come up with something or a couple somethings maybe. All right, I guess we are up to the staff and district reports and comments from the public.
Thanks, Tim.
All right, so we'll go through the staff here in Albany, then move to Syracuse, and then folks on the line. So I will start. Really been just focusing on working with various members of our team to plan some upcoming meetings. Primarily, we have a in the field state committee meeting that's being planned in September. I've been working with Scott Fickbaum to help plan that. I guess I'll just share now. We are looking at September 15th to 16th for that state committee meeting. We will be meeting on the 15th in Oneonta on the SUNY Oneonta campus. They've provided us a really nice meeting space. Scott's going to go check it out, make sure it's what we need. And then the following day on the 16th, we're going to be having a conservation project tour led by Delaware County Soil and Water. So if anybody's on from Delaware, I appreciate your help in putting that together. We're also working up some agenda items for that particular meeting. And so that's been in the works. We're also working on planning a November statewide managers meeting, which I would also kind of like to couple that with our November state committee meeting. So we are looking at holding that meeting on November 4th to November 5th. And we've secured the DoubleTree in East Syracuse as the meeting location. So what I've been trying to plan, I would like to plan for us as a state committee to have a meeting on November 4th, 10 to noon-ish timeframe. And then in the afternoon is when we will start our statewide managers meeting and, the agenda that's associated with that. So we thought that would be a really neat idea. Not only could that potentially bring more of our district managers to a state committee meeting, but also state committee members who might be interested in sticking around for the statewide managers meeting. We want that to be a possibility as well. So I've been working really closely with Melissa to get the hotel locked in. I believe we sent a save the date out to district managers, and hopefully they've distributed that to their board members as well. But that's been taking up a fair amount of our time, fair amount of my time anyway, over the past month or so. That's it for me.
I just want to say, Bethany, I'm in favor of, and hopefully the other voting members or as well, the idea of the state committee meeting being held at the same time as the managers meeting. I like that idea.
Thank you, Matt. And I just had a thought, what I will do, because I know you guys also have your own personal professional lives. I will send you an email with the dates following this meeting, with the dates for the September meeting as well as our November meeting. So you can think about whether you're going to be able to attend and stay overnight and whatnot. And I just want you guys to have that all on your calendars ahead of time. So I'll make sure to do that. That's it for me right now, so I'll hand it over to Ben.
Region 5 is kind of business as usual, attending a lot of board meetings. I've done a few trainings lately for district boards. Doing one tomorrow in Schenectady on district law. So just trying to get to as many meetings as possible. Attended a few other trainings and water quality type meetings, mostly in Warren County. Jim likes to invite me to all that stuff. Usually he has free lunch, so I tend to go if possible. A few different closeouts on the board still that I've been working on. Just trying to get out and see some projects in the field for those closeouts that are coming up. Some of them are partial closeouts, some of them are full closeouts. Yeah, really just kind of business as usual, nothing out of the ordinary to report.
Thanks, Ben. Maureen.
I'll keep it brief, but I've been working on getting our database up to date to be current with our different programs, as well as just accounting for the different closeouts that have come in. I'm pretty much, I think, up to date based on Jason and Jennifer's numbers. Greg, thank you for presenting on the CRF program for that. I also had the opportunity to visit one of the districts to help them with some ag value assessment work and see how they're utilizing GIS tools to put together those ag value assessments. It seems to be something that districts would like more guidance on. I know there's been a lot of trainings on this in the past. But I'm interested to kind of dive into that, particularly with this district kind of creating a tool to help them with just the ease of flow with helping if multiple staff members are working on ag value assessments and just as farmers come in, you know, how they're updating those soil maps after a few years, if there's changes to the farm. And then just meeting, you know, the basic requirements of what assessors would like to see and what the New York State requirements are. So that's been kind of interesting to dive into and see how GIS tools support that and this flow with new ArcPro software and mapping. So that's kind of been, that's my two highlights I'll share. Thank you.
Great.
Just really quick, that's really awesome to hear because a tentative agenda item for the November meeting is providing some sort of training or tutorial on ag value assessment. So I'm going to talk to you more a little bit about that.
Let's chat.
Jason Mulford's on leave this week, but when he gets back, let's chat with him too. And
Yeah,
that's a great interdivisional.
definitely.
Awesome. Thank you, Mark. Tim.
Nothing, actually, just a reminder, I guess, to keep it simple, with Judy taking over EBM, it'll still be a few weeks, and as we transition, you can just continue to send me, Tim Sheldon, the EBM related things. And eventually it'll transition to her, but for the time being, still me.
Thank you.
Region 6 is almost the same as what Ben was saying, attending a lot of board meetings, talking current and upcoming projects with districts, working on a couple closeouts. One thing to note, we are planning a regional AEM training in Putnam County to include their new staff member and some of the newer staff in Region 6. We have quite a few newer techs that could probably use a little bit of help with AEM and getting out there and talking to farms. So I'm working with Chaz and Gideon on putting that together for the end of August. But other than that, it's just pretty much business as usual.
Thanks, Travis. Tim.
I just wanted to throw out a reminder, I mentioned this last month, NRCS National has been ordered to update, review every standard in the catalog. So the State Tech Guide Committee is racing to receive all those and adapt them for New York State. Just something to be aware of. It's kind of going to be ongoing over the next year and a half.
Thanks, Tim. Jason, anything else?
Mentioned already, but August is when we're shooting for Ag non-point source round 31 awards. So we won't have a state committee meeting that month, but just keep an eye on your inbox. Thanks.
All right, let's shoot over to Syracuse. PJ.
Thanks, Bethany. Just a couple of things here going on this month for Region 2. I've done a few Ag non-point source and CRF closeout reviews, so those were real good. I've been working on some Eastern Finger Lakes project reviews as projects come in, trying to get those reviewed and my comments uploaded to the spreadsheet. I've had a few district board meetings and trainings also throughout the month with more planned. And then I'm also working with our planning team on coordinating an AIM training in Region 2. So that's ongoing and happy to work with them. And other than that, just traditional other AEM duties that come up here and there for the month. So thank you.
Thanks, PJ. Ryan?
Yep, thanks, Bethany. I've been spending some time this past month touching base with districts on active construction projects, trying to go through some of the troubleshooting with grant timelines, procurement stuff that kind of comes up during construction season. making sure everyone's aware of timelines and they get questions in before they get kind of overwhelmed with all the busy field season stuff. Also, working with a few districts during board meetings. This is sort of an early budget discussion time. So folks are reaching out to ask about regional salary averages, planning for budgets for this fall to go to their county. So we're trying to fill in the gaps and kind of help them out with funding questions to that end. And on the topic of state aid, I know we spent a little time on that earlier this morning. Since Part C has been increasing so much, I've noticed an uptick in requests for assistance to kind of take a look at programming at districts, how they can expand, how they can, get into new programming, what other districts are doing, where to kind of spend some of this money that they've got, how to push it back out into the community, which is kind of nice to see. I think we're always available to answer those questions, but I'm seeing more than I normally have in recent years. So trying to share and kind of crowdsource that information and get that information to districts so they can get that money through landowner assistance, municipal assistance, more additional farm assistance for projects. So seeing a lot of that, which is really great. It's keeping people busy and it's getting more funding out into the community locally. So that's mostly what's been going on. So appreciate the time. Thanks.
Thanks, Brian. Any other staff in Syracuse?
No other staff, but we have Dan from CCE here with us.
Yeah, so we already got the report from Dan, so we are good. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so moving on to staff who are joining online. Greg, do you have a report today?
Bethany, yeah, a quick one. I want to say thanks to Chaz Miller and Judy Luttrell for their annual help with the AEM Leopold Conservation Award. You may have seen a blast from our public information officers of the 3 finalists for 2026. And that came from a pool of 7 applications from Chautauqua, Dutchess, Essex, Ontario, Orleans, Tioga, and the Washington County Soil and Water Conservation Districts. And so we're very excited that the finalists are the Ben Weaver Farm and the Essex County Soil and Water District, Bottomland Farm and the Tioga County Soil and Water District, and Elvi Farms and the Ontario and Wayne County Soil and Water Districts. And look forward into the fall to see the announcement of the 2026 award winner. Thanks, Bethany.
Thanks, Greg. Victor may have had to sign off, but I just want to
I'm
pause
here.
here. Oh, you are? Okay, sorry.
Yep.
Victor.
Sorry about that. I had to switch over from my phone,
Oh,
but yeah, thanks, Bethany. Good to be with you all today. Just a few things to mention. A lot of the same comments and activities regionally going on in Region 1 as the other guys mentioned. A lot of closeouts, trying to get to as many meetings as I can. I was actually down in Wyoming County this morning and got caught in another deluge there, Megan. So you got a little more rain today. But yeah, things are pretty busy out in the region. Counties are obviously very busy constructing projects in the summertime. So that's great to see. A lot of my time this month has been focused on updating the few chapters and related to the operations manual for the districts, most notably the financial management section, which we will be discussing at this month's operations subcommittee meeting, which will convene next week, July 30th at 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. So more the merrier for that meeting. Beyond that, I also wanted to mention that last week, Travis, myself, and Scott Fickbaum were able to attend a Suffolk County Soil and Water District Board meeting. We delivered the capacity and recruitment and retention training that Scott and I have been delivering over the last year or two to this board. The board is newish and very proactive about growing the district into a number of different directions. So the presentation was very receptive by the board and by the staff as well. And figured I'd mention that, given a lot of the same parallels that we've discussed with reference to the state aid program. So throwing that out there as well, that we are also still offering that training to any district that is looking for it. And we're excited to meet new boards as we do. So, lastly, I'll just also mention that this week is the NCF Envirothon. Our winning New York State team is, I believe today is the testing day in Mississippi. So fingers crossed, and good luck to our Ulster County team from Mount Academy, and I'm sure that they'll do great. That's all.
Thank you very much, Victor. Oh, moving on down the list.
How long was that drive, Vic?
Door to door, about 8.
Oh my Lord.
Although I did take the train for a part of it, so it wasn't all white knuckles.
Thank you. How about Chaz?
Hey, everybody. Just a really quick update. A lot of us are working on getting ConSkills classes together with the CDEA. And I think those are coming together and a package should come out here pretty soon for registration. We are continuing to work on urban agriculture, new tier 1s and tier 2s, which we hope to have to you guys pretty soon to take a look at. Along with updating the nearshore aquaculture. We are starting to see some projects come in related to that. So that's pretty exciting down in that Long Island area that Victor, Scott, and Travis just visited. Districts are doing a great job at getting projects started for AEM around 19. And we're starting to see some paperwork come in and whatnot there. And so lots of great projects planned for the next 3 years, and continuing to help districts get some training out there to figure out how to use our programs and to cost share projects. So that's all I have, unless anybody has any questions. Thanks, guys.
I was muted. I said thanks.
No problem.
Yeah.
Morgan does have her hand up. Did you have a question, Morgan, or is it just a residual? Oh, you're good. Okay, just making sure.
We call them legacy hands.
Sorry about that.
No worries. Okay, Brendan.
Yeah, plan review and certification marches on as always. We're in a good groove with that. And then as PJ and Travis mentioned, we are working with AEAs and districts around the state with a few AEM trainings that have been requested, and they're shaping up nicely for next month and possibly into the fall. So look forward to those. And ConSkills is coming together, as Chaz said. So we're looking forward to that. Otherwise, business as usual, and no news is good news here.
Thanks, Brendan. Gideon.
Yeah, I'll echo what Brendan and Chaz reported on, but also just wanted to share, had the opportunity yesterday to help Delaware County Soil and Water, as well as our other partners here in Delaware County, to host, I think it was 20 interns and staff from the Nutrient Management Spirit Program at Cornell and Pro Dairy. We hosted them here in Delaware County, just shared some program overviews that are, going on here in the watershed specifically, talked about some shared our career paths, and then towards some farms. So that was a really good day yesterday. A lot of good, smart people out there coming up through the ranks, if you will, doing these internships. And yeah, it was just a really good time to share and be outside and enjoy the nice day. So I think we have some good structure out there. I know the Pro Dairy has planning interns as well as engineering interns. So I think, and obviously Jason Oliver is part of that engineering work group that Bethany alluded to earlier. So I think there's good prospects to make progress with. Thank you.
Thank you. Have I missed any state committee staff members?
Hey, Bethany, maybe it's worth noting to the committee members as well that we are hosting an all-hands division meeting next month, August 11th and 12th. I think I got it right this time. Okay. So just as an FYI, the entire staff of the Division of Land and Water Resources will be here for about 2 days. And we're gonna, hear from each other's program areas. Commissioner Ball will be in attendance as well to welcome us. We're hoping to get individual from our Ag Development Division to come and talk to us about some of the work they're doing and some of the programming that is related to land and water. And also hope to have HR rep as a kind of a Q&A and career development for the team. And some team, what do we call the team?
Team building.
Team building exercises as well that Bethany's leading. So it should be great. Last time we did this was 2 years ago. We barely fit in the large conference room that year. So we've got more staff this time around. Not, team building might be just where do we actually find a place to sit and have a good productive meeting for a couple of days. So
Be like musical chairs.
that's right. Yeah. So
that also reminded me, actually, I neglected to share that we were contacted by the Fiscal Management Division here at the department, who received a request from the New York State Division of Budget. They are interested in seeing some projects that have been implemented by soil and water districts through the various programs that are supported through the EPF. So we're actually working with Nick and Schenectady County and Scott Davis in Montgomery County to plan some tour stops. That's going to happen at the end of the month. Keeping it a pretty kind of a smaller group so we can get some one-on-one discussion time between folks from the Division of Budget and districts. But it's a really great opportunity to show those folks what's happening out on the landscape with that state funding. So looking forward to that as well. Okay, so that concludes the staff reports. So I'll just pause really quick. If there are any Soil and Water Conservation District staff or board members who are on the line, feel free to come off of mute and share a report for the group. Hearing none. If there's any members of the public that would like to share anything, please feel free. Okay. Matt, I think we are done with our that section.
Okay, very good. As Bethany mentioned, the next meeting is planned for September 15th and 16th, and that sounds like it's coming together nicely, and I'm looking forward to it. I know I like the in-field tours to see what the districts are doing. I think it's always helpful when we're having the meetings and discussing where the money's going. It's always nice to actually see the projects, I think. So, and we've seen some really interesting newer things over the past couple of years. So looking forward to that. And hopefully other voting members are able to participate in person, if not at least online. So anybody have any thoughts on that as far as it look like it's going to work for everybody, or? Okay.
And just for clarity,
I guess
we're not meeting in August. So the month of August
Right.
is is off, and so September 15th is going to be our next date.
And I assume, and probably you're still working on this maybe, but I assume you'll have information on a place to stay overnight.
Yep.
As we get closer.
Correct.
Okay. Next item is the round 31 ranking list approval for non-point.
So before we present that and Jason leads that discussion, we do have to ask all districts, and if we have any partners on the line, to recuse from the discussion. This is our last item on the agenda, so you can just recuse by hanging up. The only exception is our CDEA representative can stay on the line. So we'll just pause a minute and let district staff sign off. Thank you all.
Numbers are decreasing.
Nice and clean and your eyes. Sorry, folks, bear with us here. Okay.
I think you look good.
I think we're in good shape. Go ahead, Jason. I'll turn it over to you.
Okay. I will share my screen in a moment, but before I do that, I just want to give a background of the round. This was released in January 5th, and proposals were due on April 20th. Staff looked through eligibility completeness through late April and early May, and we passed off scoring to 5 different reviewing agencies from late May into the end of June. We had a post-review meeting on July 6th, and now we are going to bring the compiled ranked list to you. This is all 5 scores brought together and compiled, summed together, and any penalty points assessed. Then we rank them from highest to lowest, and this is going to inform what we fund with the available funding that we had in round 31, which, as a reminder, is 25 million, split between 2 different funding sources, EPF and bond. So I'm going to now share my screen. And if you're not in person, it's kind of hard to see everything at once. So I will first run across each of the fields, and then I will just run down our ranked list. So on top in the bolded boxes, you'll see the different fields of the list. So there's the rank, region, ID, district, project name, state fund requests, cumulative requests. This is an important column to note. We have 25 million, as I mentioned, so that will reflect the final awards. Total project cost, the percent state funds, farms and CAFO farms, what watershed and HUC 8, some various BMP level information such as cover crops, waste storages, herbaceous buffers or equipment. We move into the compiled score. So all 5 scoring agencies, putting their scores together. So there was 25 for identified need, 10 for scope of work, 5 for supporting other conservation efforts, 10 for cost effectiveness. Multiply these by 5 to get the total available points, penalties that were assessed, and the grand total listed from highest to lowest. So with all these fields in mind, I'm going to go back to the beginning of the list, focusing in on these first several columns, and keeping an eye on the cumulative state requests and the rank as we go down. And I'm just going to pause, maybe about every 20 or so for everyone on the line to see where things landed. So here's about proposals 1 through 20, right? Number 21 to 40. Forty to 60. $60 to $80. Oh, excuse me. $80 through $89. There's 127. We'll get there. 90 through 115. 116 through 127. And here we reflect the full request amount of nearly $77 million.
What was the score range from highest to lowest?
Highest was 122 and lowest was 165. 222 to 165.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir. I'm happy to pause on any of these or answer questions that I can in this limited, information scope.
So the cutoff for funding would be somewhere around 40, I think.
Range 40. There's the 40 million. Yep. Yes, and there's two different funding sources, as I was saying. So there's EPF and Bond Act, which was an excellent, infusion of $11 million on top of the normal EPF line item that we normally get. The only stipulation with Bond Act is it can only be applied to bondable systems, those that have a lifespan of greater than 10 years. So that disqualifies its use in things like cover crops or nutrient planting. So it'll largely reflect these first, as you say, Matt, 40. But there might be a little bit difference based on what BMPs are in each contract.
So it looks
Jason,
like,
can
and this is a positive thing, I think, is looks like that the money is pretty well spread out across the state in terms of those top projects, which is something I like to see rather than all the resources going to one area.
Yeah, fair. That's good observation. I was just going to ask if you could talk a little bit about our tiebreaker procedure, just a little bit. 'Cause,
Yes.
Looking at the rank list, we might get into that situation. And so we do have a procedure. I was just wondering if you would talk about it.
It's fun. So you'll notice.
It's kind of like a game.
Yeah, like state aid. There's gonna be grand totals that have the same point value, correct? So you see multiple 222s, 208, 209. So there's going to be, when we hit the funding threshold, say 25 million, we would have to determine which of those proposals with an equal grand total ranks above the other ones. Right now, they're just listed alphabetically, but when we get down to actual funding, it has to break down to a tiebreaker. There's several different levels that we look at. The first level is if a proposal can be funded entirely with the money that we have left. So if there was, 24.9 exhausted and there was another program or another project that was $100,000, one that was $200,000, we would go with the one that we can fully fund. Next level of tiebreaker would be the number of farms that are on the actual proposal. So we're going to go with the one that has more farms versus one that has less farms. Then if that is still also tied, we move down one more step. It's the landowner cost share. So whichever is putting forward the higher amount of landowner cost share. Usually it's the backside of state cost share, but there's also, what districts put into. So it's what the farm puts forward. If all those are still equal and tied, we issue a coin flip. which I don't know if we've done yet in the program. And it would be excited to do, but we have the protocol. Anyway.
We'd have to have weights and measures come in to make sure that it's an appropriate weight and everything else is.
A legit coin.
Like the lottery system.
Hoping we get there someday.
With like 5 different bombs all the
Uh,
We always thought like the cost share piece would be like, even if you had to take it out to its 100th place, right? There's always gonna be maybe one that would be above the other, but yeah.
7% difference.
Thanks for going over that.
Yeah.
Can you slide it over so we can see the practices?
Yes. It's hard for,
And that's just a subset of practices, right? Things that we try to.
Right, yeah, but I just
catalog
wanted to,
before put it in the database.
right.
So there's quite a few acres of cover crops.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at, and I was happy to see the forest buffer acres there too. It looks like, there's some interest in that area.
so there were no preference points this round. There were penalty points for missing items, but what's here is just reflective of the final score that reviewers gave them. And you just jog my memory, Matt, because of preference points, and we had those for buffers last year. But they still are, having a good footing. Highest awards again.
Jason, this round, we did not have 2 separate tracks. We blended EPF and Bond Act together. Can you talk a little bit about how you're going to be able to tease that apart so that Bond Act is paying for the bondable projects and EPF is paying for the non-bondable?
Yeah, so that's getting done on the back end. Last round, we had districts apply for either Bond Act or EPF. And again, if they went the Bond Act route, everything had to be bondable, had to be a constructed type of practice. This year, we're going to do it just on the ranked list. So we've determined whether what will be a contract, the proposal has all bondable practices and could then be grabbed from the bondable pot, or if it has a mix or is if it's not all bondable, it would have to be paid for by EPF. So then if it has some cover crops included in it or something like that, we then grab from the EPF portion of it. So we kind of go back and forth based on whether they're bondable or a mix of bondable and not bondable until we exhaust the 2 columns going down the list. And it, again, will probably largely reflect what's ranked here, but it might skip one based on what's inclusive of BMPs in that proposal. That follow?
Yeah. Yeah.
Makes sense.
We weren't sure exactly how the Bond Act was going to kind of be incorporated in the first year, so that's why we separated out. But after 1 year experience, figured we could do it, on the back end.
Yep.
Yeah.
Easier for the applicants.
Yep. Harder on you. Easier on the applicants, right? That's okay.
Any other questions or discussion on this? If not, a motion to approve the ranked list?
Well, we do have a resolution that Jason can read.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
That you guys
Forgot you
can
had that.
move on that.
Yep, I
Oh,
forgot
okay,
you had to have the resolution.
And then I will, we'll open it up for your motion second and a full vote.
Right.
I'll read this now. Resolution number 26-02, approval of the round 31 agricultural non-point source abatement and control program ranked list of proposals. That subject to the availability of funds, the committee shall award funding pursuant to round 31 of the agricultural non-point source abatement and control grant program for projects number 1 through 127 in order ranked and in the amounts recommended by the advisory committee members of the committee until funds available for this purpose are exhausted or the scoring threshold is reached, consistent with the Soil and Water Conservation District law, the RFP, and any other law applicable to funding of such projects. Consistent with the RFP, the committee authorized the Department of Agriculture and Markets to negotiate the terms of the contract with the project sponsors and to make minor adjustments to the project description and budget as necessary to achieve project goals, conform to applicable laws and regulations, and to serve the best interests of the state.
All right, any questions on or discussion on the resolution?
No, I move
If not,
to
a motion.
approve, I move to approve the resolution.
Okay, second? Okay, we'll go to voting. Darren?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Megan?
Aye.
And Maureen?
Aye.
All right, the motion is approved.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks to everyone that applied for this, and thanks to everyone that helped score. This is a great round.
Double under.
All right, well, thanks, everyone. I believe we're at the point where we can adjourn unless there's anything else. All right, very good. Hope to see you all in September.
Thanks, Matt.
Enjoy the rest of the summer, everybody.
Yep,
Thank you.
bye.
Thank you.